Alright guys, so hello and welcome back to the Abnormal Discussions podcast. Um, yeah, it's been quite a long time since we had posted and made any episodes, so we apologize for that. You know how things is, we get busy with our normal lives, work, family, kids, that type of stuff. As you can tell, Trisha is not with us on this episode, but hopefully here in the future, she'll be back with us. She just decided to go out and enjoy the races, so because our son got a job at the concession stand there, so he has to be there tonight, so she went out there with him, and I stayed home with the two little kids. But let's get on into the podcasting. A few days ago, I asked my sister for some ideas for the podcasting instead of just trying to do random talking, and she gave me quite a few, but she said that true crime was something that was, being pretty big right now. So she said, give that a try. So yeah, we're gonna try to do some true crime. So in this episode, we're gonna be talking about serial killers. I mean, how what you gonna start off a true crime episode or series if you don't start off with serial killers. I know there's tons and tons of videos and podcasts talking about true crimes and that sort of stuff, but I guess everybody's idea, or not idea, storytelling is different, I should say. So we're just kind of wing it for now, as I'm doing now, just rambling on. In this podcast, we will talk about some serial killers. We will be looking at their lives and crimes, what drove them to kill, and pretty much their profiles of their heinous acts. From Ted Bundy to Jeffrey Dahmer, stories of unspeakable violence and unimaginary horrors continue to captivate the public. But while many of these killers may have long since been brought to justice, their crimes continue to leave a lasting impact on society. We continue to ask ourselves what motivated them. But before we continue with this podcast, I have to add that this podcast was made with paraphrasing tool.ai. I really couldn't, think of something good to start off this episode or this series with, so I went and had this whole podcasting made by paraphrasing tool.ai. So let's see how it goes. To begin exploring the world of serial killers, let's first define exactly what a serial killer is. At its most basic level, a serial killer is someone who has committed 3 or more murders over an extended period of time, with each killing separated by what is known as a cooling off period. These killings are often premeditated, with a killer targeting specific victims, often with distinct characteristics that appear to their twisted fantasies and desire for power. As we continue on, you will kind of explain more of what that is. But what drives someone to become a serial killer? While there is no one answer to this question, many experts believe that it often stems from a combination of childhood trauma, genetic factors, personality disorders, and social/environmental factors. So there's a bunch of different things that factor into what makes a why somebody will become a serial killer. This isn't part of the script or nothing, but personally, I think why somebody will become a serial killer is what I just said a few minutes ago. The desire for power, controlling someone, showing dominance, or just trying to get back at society, some way. One of the most well-known serial killers in history is Ted Bundy. Bundy was responsible for the deaths of at least 30 young women in the 1970s, and his crimes shocked the nation. Born into a troubled family, Bundy often struggled with feelings of decency and insecurity, and his warped sense of self led him to commit his desirable crimes. Another notorious serial killer was Jeffrey Dahmer, who murdered and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Like Bundy, Dahmer's childhood was marked with instability and dysfunction, and his crimes reflected an intense desire for control and dominance. But not all serial killers fit into the same mold. I'm just trying to skim through all of this. See, these were just, two known serial killers. There's one, and Ellen, can't even say their last name. The so-called damsel of death had a much different background, who killed 7 men between 1989 and 1990, was a sex worker who had been physically and sexually abused in her youth. Her killings were a response to the abuse and trauma she had experienced, as she sought to take control of her life in the most twisted and violent way imaginable. I hope I said her name right. I'll make sure. I also forgot to mention this is going to be on our YouTube page. So at the bottom of the screen, it'll have how you say her name. Despite their differences, all serial killers share one common trait: a complete disregard for the value of human life. They view their victims as objects, not people, and have little to no empathy for the suffering they inflicted. The lack of empathy and remorse is often coupled with a need for attention and a desire to have control over other people, making for a deadly combination that can turn even the most seemingly normal person into a monster. Like I was saying here, if you look back at let me make sure I get his name. Yeah, it was Ted Bundy. I want to make sure I got Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer separated. It was Ted Bundy. If you look and do research on him, he looks just like your normal, everyday guy from the 70s and 80s, you know. And that's the way most of the women or people had described him. I think, I can't remember exactly. I think there was one victim of Ted Bundy's that survived, and she was talking about him. The world of serial killer profiles is a chilling and disturbing one. From Ted Bundy to Dahmer and beyond, these killers leave a trail of destruction in their wake, and their crimes continue to fascinate and horrify us to this day. I mean, people still talk about Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. I know those are two of the most famous serial killers that I can think of off the top of my head, and I'm pretty sure if you type in serial killers, one of those two guys will pop up. You know, while we never truly understand what drives someone to become a serial killer, it is important to continue exploring the profiles in order to better understand the mindset of those capable of such acts. Thank you for joining us today. This is a short podcast. I was just trying to find something to jump into this series with. True crimes. So hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to read. I'm more of a talking off the top of my head type of person. So as each episode goes on, I'm hoping to get more and more at ease to taking what's on the screen and reflecting back to you guys. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, there's a link down below, of course, so you can subscribe, like. We're going to have these episodes, this series, over on AA Films. That's on YouTube. We're changing over YouTube channels, so that's what it's going to be on. It'll also be in the description if you're listening to this on a podcast. Sorry for everything. We're no longer in the office. I've moved everything to our home, hence the background. So I'm pretty much still setting everything up. I guess I'm just rambling on at this point. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully you'll come back for more. Like, subscribe, do all of that type of stuff for us so we can continue to grow. Okay, until next time, guys, thank y'all so much, and we'll be seeing y'all around.
Peace.